All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. It is officially OTA time for the Carolina Panthers, and that's what we're going to be talking about in today's video. Bryce Young just said that head coach Dave Canales focuses on teaching while coaching, and that he gives players very constructive feedback. Folks, Bryce Young looks really good right now. Xavier Legette, first-round draft pick, looks really good. I love seeing and watching Bryce Young throw it to Deontay Johnson. They had a phenomenal draft, like just such a sleepy, slept on draft from the Carolina Panthers. I think they had a very solid offseason in general. They focused on the offensive line early, and because it's the offensive line, I think it just kind of flew under the radar. But the biggest move the Carolina Panthers made this offseason, before we get into the OTA talk, was Dave Canales. And you're kind of seeing it in the last few weeks, the last few days. You're going to be seeing it all offseason when he talks to the media and when he's just interacting with the Carolina Panthers players, whether they're rookies, whether they're older veterans, whether it's his coaching staff, it doesn't matter. There's just an aura, a level of preparedness that Dave Canales possesses that I think you don't see across the league all that often. He knows exactly what he's doing. We saw it with Baker Mayfield having a career resurgence last year with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They literally won a playoff game. Nobody even thought that Tampa Bay, people were wondering who the quarterback was going to be for Tampa Bay, even though Baker Mayfield was on the roster at this time last year. And he leads them to a good offense, an effective offense, and gets Baker Mayfield back on track. And so, this was the Carolina Panthers' biggest offseason move, was picking up Dave Canales. And I'm just kind of seeing it, just viewing OTA highlights and just, Twitter clips and all that stuff. And you can just see it, and you can see it when he talks. So I'm really bullish on the Carolina Panthers. It might not be right away because there are some holes and some flaws I see primarily on the defensive side of things. And I do just want to say this, actually, before we get into it, let's get an intro in. Welcome back to the channel. Obviously, we're talking about the Carolina Panthers in today's video. We're going to be covering them all OTAs, and we make plenty of Panthers videos on this channel. So hit that like button, hit that sub button if you haven't already. If we could try and get this video to 100 likes, that would mean the absolute world to me. So really quickly, Bleacher Report dropped a win-loss projection and like a little excerpt for all 32 teams in the NFL. Carolina was 31st. I think they were just slightly ahead of the New England Patriots. Here's an excerpt that I grabbed from it to, hype up my Panthers fans. The Panthers will once again finish at the bottom of the standings this season. At least they have their first round pick for the 2025 draft this time. Prediction 3-14. The Carolina Panthers are not going 3-14. If they go 3-14, it's because Bryce Young played probably 2 or 3 football games. The only thing I care about, and I'm not saying Carolina is going to go 10-7. I'm not saying they're going to go 11-6 or 13-4 and win a couple of playoff games. But the only important thing to me, and I know they lost some pieces on the defensive side of things. They traded away Brian Burns, which we've said all offseason I think was a very good, smart move. There are some concerns with the cornerback room. J.C. Horn hasn't played too much. We'll talk about that in just a second. But all I literally care about is getting this offense and getting this quarterback on track. And just, here's the #1 draft pick last year for a reason. And we didn't see too much of it last year because he had no offensive line, he had no weapons, and the play calling was horrid. So this year will be much more improved, even if you just go from the 3-win prediction to 6 wins or 7 wins. My big number for Carolina to hit this year is at least 7 wins. If Carolina hits 7 wins this season, they're back on track. And that last year we can just forget about it. So anyways, let's get into some more OTAs talk. So J.C. Horn, in my opinion, is one of the best cornerbacks in the NFL. He just can't stay healthy. He's only played in 22 of 51 games. He said he's focusing more on weight training this offseason to build his body back up. He added that's what he's done in the past, that it just hasn't worked. So he's bulking up. And he also says he still believes he's one of the league's best cornerbacks, even though he's been injured much of his career with the Panthers. So J.C. Horn catches my eye because when he's healthy, those 22 games when he's healthy, the dude's one of the best cornerbacks in the NFL. And the cornerback room in general is looking a little bleak. You picked up Dane Jackson from the Buffalo Bills. He just has never really had many starting opportunities. But if J.C. Horn can stay healthy, that secondary will be just fine. You also picked up Jordan Fuller from the Los Angeles Rams. But I want to focus the rest of this video on the offensive side of things. So some guys to keep note of. 2 players to keep note of in OTAs for me are Xavier Legette and JT Sanders, because I really desperately wanted them to pick up a tight end, and they got, in my opinion, the second best tight end in the NFL draft in the 4th round. But Xavier Legette and Deontay Johnson, we're seeing the Twitter videos, we're seeing the Instagram reels, we're seeing it all. Like, the connection looks good. Bryce Young tweaked his footwork, he's tweaking his mechanics. Dave Canales, I'm telling you, is going to get this dude back on track. But more importantly, man, they have finally protection. That's one of the things a lot of people, that didn't watch Panthers fans, rightfully so, no disrespect to the Panthers, but if you didn't watch too many Panthers games last year, for good reason, the protection was horrible. Bryce Young was running for his life every single snap. And so that's why you picked up Robert Hunt, and that's why you picked up Damian Lewis. So now your guards are set, and that's why you traded for Deontay Johnson to get a solidified wide receiver one who can get you over 1,000 yards. But Xavier Legette brings you so much versatility. He can just make plays literally all over the field. He can catch passes, he can return kicks, he can run it in a jet sweep. It's something that Bryce Young's offensive weaponry last year just did not possess. So even though the Deontay Johnson trade was huge, you have to continue to bolster it. It's just crazy to me. I know Jonathan Mingo is still up in the air. I actually think he's going to probably lose his spot to Xavier Legette. You still got reliable old Adam Thielen. But Deontay Johnson, Xavier Legette, and Adam Thielen, that's a much improved wide receiver room than it was last year. Legette is also 6'1", 221 pounds. He also ran a 4.3 non-40-yard dash. Fun fact, he had 10 catches on throws of 30-plus air yards last season. That was tied for second most in all of FBS. The Panthers had one reception on throws of 30-plus air yards last season, the fewest in a season since the Bengals had 0 in 2020. So, yeah, Xavier Legette, versatile, big-time playmaker. He always steps up. I'm a big South Carolina Gamecock, so it is a little bit biased, but I'm telling you, snagged one of the best wide receivers in the draft class at the end of the 1st round. Now, Jonathan Brooks, another player I'm absolutely loving. He'll be ready to go hopefully by July 1st. We'll talk about him in our next Panthers video, because before we wrap up, I do want to talk about JT Sanders, tight end out of Texas that you snagged in the 4th round, pick 101. 99 catches in 3 seasons. That tops for a tight end in Texas history, in all of Texas college football history. He's going to pose problems for defenses. I've seen a couple of comparisons to Greg Olsen during the development of quarterback Cam Newton. But Bryce Young had an NFL worst 44.8 total QBR last season when targeting tight ends. His tight ends combined for 59 catches, which was the fewest in the NFL. And if you look at most successful NFL teams, they have a tight end that's competent. And by the way, Tommy Tremble I like a lot, but I want like a stud long term at the tight end spot. And it's just baffling to me that JT fell all the way to the 4th round. In my opinion, he was a 2nd round guy. So that's it for today. We'll keep covering OTAs, but I did want to talk a little bit about the draft. So let me know if you guys want more Panthers videos. They're on the way probably all week, so stay tuned. But let me know, who's your favorite draft pick from Carolina this year. Give me a brief, quick win-loss projection, and we'll see you soon.